Okay, are you in charge of this show?
Yeah, we are absolutely ready to go. Start with Channel 13.
Okay, well, just tell us your first reaction when you found out you were the new state superintendent.
Well, I'm certainly very happy to have the role. I was a little shocked, I'll be honest, because it came back earlier than what we'd expected. In fact, I was sitting there, as you know, we had to sit in a room alone all day, and they told us 3 o'clock they'd be back, so when the door opened, it's quite a bit early. We were trying to figure out, maybe it was just a break or something like that. But after having just a few seconds to think about it, I'm certainly very honored to do the job. This is a job I've really been preparing my whole life for, and I'm excited about it. And I believe in public education deep down in my soul and the value that it offers children in this state. The state can only go forward with a great public education system. And I'm following in the steps of some great leaders, and we're going to take it to the next level.
Let's get Morgan at WSFA.
You mentioned in your interview that you do have some experience with Montgomery Public Schools. Your children went through there, and you're here. From what you know of the Montgomery Public Schools intervention at this point, do you have kind of a preliminary plan on how to deal with it? And do you have any concerns about working with that local board based on what you've seen up there?
I already have my first meeting set up. Dr. Richardson and I are going to meet on Tuesday morning to talk about that. And so I think I probably need to wait till I meet him and find out more about the specific plans. Not just the things he's done, but I know he's set some other things in motion for the future, and we're going to have a meeting about that. And then after Tuesday, I'll have more to say about it.
Maricel's chomping at the bits there.
Dr. Mackey, you and the other two candidates both talked about inequity in school funding on rural versus urban areas. What, if anything, can be done to increase funding to the have-nots in the Alabama education system?
Sure. Well, one of the things, as I mentioned in my interview, that we have to do are look at those state programs like transportation, career tech initiatives that really are, those are considered state programs, and we need to fully fund the state programs, and that puts everybody else on a level playing field. Certainly, as the governor mentioned earlier, it would be great if everybody across the state had the same level of funding, but because some local communities step up more than others, some local communities have more capacity than others. So that's an issue that's very hard. I'm not the first person to face that. So it's not going to be that's not going to be an easy thing to do. We all know that. But what the state can do is create more of a level playing field for everybody. And I think this is a great board that wants to do that. They want to work with everybody in the state. They want everybody to have that same opportunity, and so I look forward to working with the board to make that happen.
Dr. Mackey, one of the main concerns in the legislative session and in the public this year has been school safety. So what are your plans to address those school safety concerns?
Well, we're going to pick up where the current superintendent, Dr. Richardson, is leading, and also the Governor's Safe Council. So they have some wonderful things in place talking about bringing more mental health counselors into the schools, and that's certainly a priority for me, and it will remain a priority and will continue to grow, because if we have students who need mental health services, we need to be working as the State Department of Education with the Department of Mental Health, with our local agencies, with private agencies, to make sure that every student has those services. So mental health is going to be a big part of that. Certainly, we're also going to be working with the schools to make sure if they feel like they need more secure facilities, whether that be the electronic locking systems or whatever, to try to make sure that the funding's there. And then that may be something, as I work with the state board, we'll begin our process in about 2 months on the budget for next year, and the board may say one of the things we want to ask the legislature for is some money for that. I'm not predicting that. I'm saying that I think it's probably a good time to at least have that conversation with the board and let them decide what they feel like the priority needs to be there. But certainly we'll also be working with those locals to make sure that they feel like they have their needs addressed, whether those might be school resource officers. A lot of our campuses have school resource officers. Some of them don't have them. Some of them have open campuses. Some don't have open campuses. So there's not an easy one fit for everybody answer to that. But we do want to make sure every student's in a safe environment.
Let's go, Aaron, Andrew, Trish.
Okay, Dr. Mackey, we hear so much in this social media age about how poorly our children communicate. You mentioned that's something that we're not assessing, those critical speech and debate skills and overall communication skills. Talk a little bit more about that, why you feel that's important, and what we can do to better assess where our students are when it comes to valuable communication skills.
Absolutely.
Could you look just straight
Sure.
down the middle, we get a better
Yeah,
shot?
oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Okay, yeah, very good question. So it is critical that students learn to speak. I mean, they need to be able to do public speaking, they need to be able to also listen. A big speaking skill is listening to others and being able then to debate and figure out ideas. And so one of the things we want to do is work with those students to make sure that they all have an opportunity to learn public speaking skills. And now that can be done a lot of different ways. We have so many amazing teachers out there, not just speech teachers, but grammar teachers and English teachers and elementary teachers who are doing a lot of things to give their students opportunities to become good speakers and to learn those skills that they need. So I think that we've already got teachers doing that. We just need to enhance and support what they're doing.
Andrea?
So what is your top priority coming in? You've mentioned finances, you mentioned academics. What for you is the top priority to?
Top priority will be assessment, getting the assessment system right. And the reason that has to be the top priority is because that, in order for us to have a new assessment in place in 2 years, which we've promised our locals will have something ready to go by the spring of 2020, then that RFP has to be released by early summer. And I know it's already that's already in process, but that would definitely be job one.
In Montgomery, in particular, criticism of the report card is, it's old data, it's data from tests we don't use anymore. Are you a data guy, and how important is that to knowing exactly where the state's headed academically?
Well, it is important that we get accurate data and that we get current data. The data are always going to be about a year old, but that's just the way it happens. You test in the spring, and then you don't use them until the next year. But one of the problems with the current report card is that some of the data come from multiple years. So we will be working to try to tighten that up, to try to, and it'll take some time. That'll probably take a couple of years because we have a new assessment coming to get the assessment and the data together.
Trish?
So, academic achievement. We always tend to land at the bottom of the rankings. What would you say to all of us to prove that you're the guy that's going to take us off the bottom of the rankings?
We're going to work with the folks in this department and the folks in our local education agencies to move our academics up. And that's not going to be just me making the answer, because we've got a lot of folks out there who have expertise, and we need to be listening to them. We need to be working together as a team to move all students forward.
And realistically, though, that takes a while. I mean, what's a realistic expectation, knowing that an assessment's down the road a couple of years? It's not going to happen next year, I guess is what I'm saying.
It's not going to happen next year, but already, in the midst of a couple of pretty difficult years, our local schools have done some pretty good work, and already just between the 2015 to 2017 NAEP scores, we see increases. Now, they're not where we want to be, but we are moving in the right direction, and we're going to accelerate that and continue to move up.
All right, one more.
How familiar are you with the Montgomery Intervention? And you said that you're going to meet with Dr. Richardson next week, but do you have any ideas of maybe what needs to be implemented, what the school system is missing right now?
Yeah, I really wish I could answer that, but I really don't, because I have not been involved in the day-to-day of the intervention, and so I really need to meet with him first on Tuesday morning and get two things. One is an exact reading of where we are in the intervention, and the other one is then what's coming next. So is there a plan for next year? Is there a plan for this summer? Because those are details that I'm missing right now, but I suspect that Tuesday morning when we meet, a lot of that will be filled in.
You guys, we had some pretty rigid rules